rejection isn't a setback. For the beta male, it's a self-imposed prison sentence. It's a life term handed down not by a judge, but by the warden of his own insecurities. This isn't about occasionally feeling the sting of no. This is about a pervasive, all-consuming fear that cripples men, preventing them from even attempting to grasp what they desire. Whether it's the woman of their dreams, the career they crave, or the life they secretly envision, the beta male stands paralyzed, locked in a cell of his own making. We're talking about self-shackling. It's the horrifying, yet fascinating, phenomenon where beta males actively, although often unconsciously, limit their own potential. They are their own jailers, meticulously constructing the bars of their confinement with every avoided risk, every unspoken desire, every hesitant step back from the precipice of opportunity. They do this through the constant fear. It is absolutely pathological. The tragic irony is almost unbearable. The very thing they dread, rejection, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their fear doesn't protect them, it defines them. It dictates their choices, shrinks their world, and ultimately leads them to the very outcome they so desperately try to avoid. They become trapped in an endless, self-perpetuating cycle of mediocrity, their potential withering on the vine, unpicked and unfulfilled. Think of rejection as quicksand. The natural instinct, when caught, is to struggle, to thrash, to fight with every ounce of your being. But that very struggle, fueled by panic and fear, only pulls you deeper. The beta male, terrified of the sinking sensation of rejection, struggles relentlessly against it. He avoids any situation where no is a possibility. He shrinks from challenges, silences his own voice, and in doing so, he sinks deeper and deeper into the mire of his own unfulfilled life. He becomes completely and utterly trapped, unable to escape the prison of his own limitations. He is a prisoner of his own fear. Absolutely pathetic. Let's dissect this festering wound, this crippling fear that transforms rejection from a minor setback into a life sentence of mediocrity for the beta male. Why does rejection feel like a mortal blow? Why does it resonate with such devastating force? Because, my friend, it strikes at the very core of their pathetically fragile being. It's a multi-layered psychological assault, a perfect storm of self-inflicted misery. Low self-worth, the crumbling foundation. Imagine building a skyscraper on quicksand. That's the beta male's self-esteem. He doesn't derive his worth from within, from inherent strength or accomplishment. No, he desperately craves external validation. His entire sense of self is precariously balanced on the opinions of others, women, friends, bosses, anyone who will throw him a scrap of approval. Every interaction becomes a terrifying referendum on his worth. A woman's disinterest. He's worthless. Criticism from his boss. He's incompetent. A friend's disagreement. He's unlikable. He's constantly seeking affirmation, like a beggar, pathetically pleading for spare change. And any denial of that change, any hint of disapproval, shatters his already fractured ego. He needs that like on social media, that compliment, that nod of agreement, to temporarily silence the screaming insecurities within. He can't handle any form of criticism, viewing it not as constructive feedback, but as a personal attack, proof of his fundamental inadequacy. Negative self-talk, the whispers of doom. The beta male's mind isn't his ally, it's his most ruthless tormentor. A constant, insidious internal dialogue of negativity reinforces his fear. It's a broken record of self-doubt, playing on repeat. I'm not good enough. She'll never like me, look at her. She is a goddess, and I am a worm. I'll just embarrass myself, they'll all laugh. I'm a loser. I'm unattractive. I'm boring. This isn't just occasional self-doubt. It's a relentless barrage, a self-inflicted psychological torture that sabotages any attempt at confidence. This negative self-talk creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of epic proportions. He believes he'll fail, so he acts in ways that guarantee failure. He approaches a woman with slumped shoulders, a hesitant voice, and a desperate need for approval radiating from every pore. Of course, she's going to reject him. He's practically begging her to. Lack of exposure experience, the untested warrior. Rejection, like any challenge, builds resilience. Each rejection, properly processed, strengthens your ability to handle future setbacks. But the beta male avoids rejection at all costs. He's like a soldier who never enters the battlefield, cowering in the barracks, terrified of the sound of gunfire. He hasn't built the rejection muscle, the callus, the thick skin that comes from facing adversity and surviving. He's never learned that rejection isn't fatal, that it's often a redirection, a learning experience. He imagines rejection as this catastrophic event, a public humiliation that will scar him for life. Because he's never experienced it repeatedly, he has no framework for coping, no evidence that he can survive. Every potential interaction is fraught with imagined peril, so he simply avoids it. The nice guy syndrome, the path of the doormat. This is where the beta male truly shoots himself in the foot. He adopts the nice guy persona, believing that relentless agreeableness and self-sacrifice will win him affection and approval. He's the guy who bends over backward for everyone, constantly putting others' needs before his own, suppressing his own desires and opinions. He's a doormat, silently screaming for recognition, but terrified of demanding it. He'll do anything to avoid conflict, to please others, hoping that this constant appeasement will somehow make him worthy of love and respect. But the opposite happens. He becomes invisible, a background character in his own life. Resentment builds, a simmering anger at the world for not recognizing his niceness, further fueling his fear of rejection. He's afraid to assert himself, to express his true feelings, because that might upset someone. He's trapped in a cycle of self-suppression and passive aggression, all stemming from this core fear of not being liked. Incel ideology echoes, the dangerous resonance. And here's where it gets truly disturbing. While we absolutely do not endorse the hateful and misogynistic views of incel ideology, we must acknowledge that some beta male behaviors echo certain aspects of that worldview. The sense of entitlement to female attention, the resentment towards women who reject them, the feeling of being unfairly overlooked, the belief that they are victims of a cruel and unjust social order. These are all dangerous undercurrents that, while not fully formed incel ideology, share a disturbing resonance. The beta male, in his fear and self-pity, can sometimes find himself flirting with these toxic ideas, seeing himself as a nice guy who is being denied what he deserves. This is a slippery slope, a path that leads to further bitterness and isolation. It's crucial to recognize these echoes and actively challenge them, to understand that rejection is not a personal indictment, but a part of life, and that no one is entitled to another person's affection. Let's dissect the horrifying reality of how this self-imposed prison sentence actually manifests in a beta male's life. How does this crippling fear of rejection transform his vibrant potential into a wasteland of bitter regret? It's a slow, agonizing death of the soul, and it plays out across every facet of his existence. Relationships, the eternal orbit of unrequited desire. Imagine him perpetually trapped in the friend zone, a desolate satellite orbiting the women he craves but never dares to approach. He's the nice guy, the confidant, the shoulder to cry on, always available, but utterly invisible as a romantic prospect. Picture this: he sees her, the woman who sets his soul on fire. She's laughing, radiant, and his heart aches with a longing so intense it's physical. He rehearses the perfect opening line 1,000 times in his head, each iteration more elaborate, more desperate than the last. His palms sweat, his throat constricts, and his mind screams a litany of self-deprecating garbage. She's out of my league. I'll just embarrass myself. She probably already has a boyfriend, a real man. He watches, paralyzed by fear, as another man bolder, more assertive, less afraid approaches her. He witnesses their easy interaction, the spark of connection, and his stomach twists with a nauseating blend of envy and self-loathing. He retreats, defeated, drowning in a sea of regret, another opportunity swallowed by the abyss of his inaction. This isn't just a single incident, it's a recurring nightmare, a pattern of missed connections and unfulfilled desires that defines his romantic life. He settles for scraps, for fleeting moments of attention, or worse, he resigns himself to complete isolation, convinced that he's destined to be alone, a ghost in the world of romance. Career, the stagnant waters of unfulfilled potential. In the professional realm, his fear of rejection manifests as a crippling lack of ambition. He's the worker bee, diligently toiling away, brimming with untapped potential, but too terrified to stand out from the hive. He watches his colleagues, perhaps less talented but more assertive, climb the corporate ladder, while he remains stuck in the same dead-end job, year after agonizing year. He knows he deserves a raise, a promotion, recognition for his hard work, but the thought of asking, of putting himself in a position where he might be rejected, fills him with dread. He imagines his boss scoffing at his request, dismissing him as unworthy, and the shame is unbearable. He dreams of starting his own business, of unleashing his entrepreneurial spirit, But the fear of failure, of being rejected by the market, by investors, by potential clients, keeps him chained to his desk, a prisoner of his own insecurities. He's a caged lion, powerful but unable to break free, his roar reduced to a whimper. Social life, the chameleon who lost himself. His social life is a pale imitation of genuine connection. He's a chameleon, constantly adapting his personality to fit in, terrified of expressing his true opinions for fear of judgment, and, you guessed it, rejection. He avoids social gatherings whenever possible. The thought of navigating conversations and potentially facing awkward silences or disagreements, sending shivers down his spine. When he does attend, he's a master of superficiality, agreeing with everything everyone says, nodding along like a mindless puppet, his own voice silenced by the fear of saying the wrong thing. He craves genuine connection, deep and meaningful friendships, but his fear prevents him from revealing his true self, leaving him isolated and lonely, even in a crowded room. He's a ghost, haunting the edges of social circles, never truly belonging. Personal growth, the stagnant pool of untapped potential. Fear of rejection acts as a concrete barrier to personal growth, trapping him in a stagnant pool of mediocrity, while the vibrant river of life flows past him. He yearns to learn new skills, to travel to exotic places, to pursue his passions. But the fear of stepping outside his comfort zone, of potentially failing and facing rejection, keeps him rooted in place. He dreams of learning to play the guitar, of mastering a martial art, of writing a novel. But the thought of the initial struggles, of the inevitable setbacks and potential criticism, is enough to paralyze him. He remains tethered to the familiar, the safe, the unfulfilling, his potential withering on the vine, a tragic testament to the power of self-imposed limitations. He is a masterpiece unpainted, a symphony uncomposed, a life unlived. Dominance and submission, the prey in a world of predators. This is where it gets truly brutal. His fear and passivity, his inherent aversion to confrontation, cast him as the prey in the ruthless social hierarchy. He's vulnerable to manipulation, exploitation, and the casual cruelty of those who are willing to assert themselves, those who embrace the potential for rejection and use it as fuel. He's the one who gets walked all over, taken advantage of, his boundaries constantly violated because he lacks the courage to defend them. He's the target of bullies, both overt and subtle, the one who gets passed over for opportunities, the one whose voice is drowned out by the roar of the dominant. He's a lamb surrounded by wolves, constantly at the mercy of those who are willing to take what they want. And he allows it to happen because the alternative confrontation, assertion, the risk of rejection is simply too terrifying to contemplate. It's a harsh truth, but it's a truth that must be faced. In a world that rewards boldness, his fear condemns him to a life of subservience, a constant state of being less than he could be. And that is an unbearable and unnecessary tragedy. This self-sabotage must end. Listen to me and listen closely. The words I'm about to unleash upon you are not for the faint of heart. They are for the man who is sick and tired of living a half-life, a life dictated by fear. Break free from these shackles of rejection, these self-imposed chains, or be forever condemned, forever chained to a life of quiet desperation and mediocrity. That's your choice, stark, brutal, and undeniably real. But there's a flicker of hope, a blazing inferno waiting to be ignited within you. The potential for radical transformation is there, but it demands you embrace discomfort, that you stare into the abyss of your fears and laugh in its face. The path to becoming a true alpha, to seizing the life you were born to live, to achieving the absolute pinnacle of fulfillment, is paved with the jagged, broken stones of past rejections. Each rejection, each perceived failure, is not a tombstone, but a stepping stone to greatness. Don't delude yourself with whispers of easy solutions. Start small, yes, but start with ferocity. Seek support, but be damn sure you're seeking it from the right sources. Surround yourself with lions, not sheep. Avoid the echo chambers of negativity, the whining masses who will drag you back down into the mire of their own self-pity. Celebrate every single victory, no matter how insignificant it seems. Did you finally make eye contact with that woman across the room? Did you speak your mind in a meeting, even if your voice trembled? That's not weakness, that's the seed of courage taking root. Understand this: the sting of growth, the agonizing burn of pushing beyond your limits, is temporary. It's a fleeting discomfort compared to the eternal, soul-crushing weight of regret. The regret of inaction, of opportunities missed, of a life unlived, will haunt you to your dying breath. It will be a specter, a constant reminder of the man you could have been, but chose not to be. So I ask you, and this question should echo in the deepest recesses of your mind: will you choose to remain a cowering prisoner of your own fear, a pathetic shadow of a man, forever trapped in the darkness? Or will you rise? Will you forge your own destiny? Rejection be damned. Will you become the architect of your own life, the master of your own fate, a force of nature to be reckoned with? This isn't about self-help. This is about self-conquest. We're talking about aggression training, about unleashing the primal force within you. We're talking about dominance workshops, where you learn to command respect, to exude power, to become unstoppable. This is about becoming ruthlessly brave, about forging a steel will and an iron discipline. This is about becoming the apex predator you were always meant to be. The choice is yours.